Hi, I'm Steve Josephic, Pro and Direct Sales Coordinator here at SCARPA North America, and today I'm going to show you how to mold your SCARPA Intuition liners. So the tools that we're going to need for the molding process today is going to be our Intuition boot heater and our Intuition fit kit, which involves a couple pairs of stockings and your toe caps. Before we get started with the molding process, what we're going to need to do is warm up our boot heater. We have fairly basic controls on it. We have an 8-minute warm-up setting and then the 12-minute thermo-moldable setting. And pretty much this will scroll through either 8 minutes or 12 minutes. And the warm-up setting warms this heater up to 40 degrees centigrade or 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And the thermo molding temperature is going to be 119 Celsius and 246 degrees Fahrenheit. And when you adjust your time going back and forth between the two, you also want to make sure that the light on the heat is set up to the appropriate setting. So right now we're showing the warm-up light is on, and move it over to the thermo molding. And once that's all set, if we needed to, we can adjust the time by going up or going down inversely with the setting. And once it's all set, you just hit the start button, and then it goes. Now that the boot heater is warming up, this is a good time to prepare your boots for the molding process. So you want to make sure every single buckle is undone. And you want to check that the inside of the liner is completely empty, because quite often there's going to be materials from the gear manufacturer that's going to be left behind, and make sure that the insoles are taken out of the boots. So now that the boots are opened up, the shell is in walk mode so you can get it really nice and open. We're going to place our boots onto our boot heater. So during this process, you want to slide the boots onto the heater following the curve of the tube and see that it's set on there properly, and that the tongue on the liner is not too wide open, just so it traps all the heat in there and we're not losing any heat. Now that the boots are on the boot heater, we're going to go ahead and set the time for 12 minutes of thermo molding. And make sure that the heat setting is on the thermo mold setting, and we're going to go ahead and start this guy up. So now that we have the boots on the boot heater, this is a great time to dress the customer's foot. You have about 12 minutes to do this, so no big rush. So we're going to take one of the fit kit stockings, and if you can put your foot up on top of my knee here and roll your cuff up for me. Slip this guy on. Make sure there's no wrinkles or creases on that. Gonna grab one of the toe caps and make sure it's oriented in the proper direction. They are asymmetrical. And grab the second stocking, put it on top of the toe cap. This is just to hold everything in place. Now these toe caps, definitely something we recommend using, because what they're gonna do is provide a little pocket of wiggle room for your toes in the front of the liner. And it's also going to create a little pocket of warm air, so your toes are going to stay much warmer. So the boots have just finished their 12-minute molding process. What we're going to do is pull one of these boots off so we could get it on the customer's foot, and we're going to add 2 minutes to the heating machine so the other boot doesn't cool down too much. Okay, the boot is coming off the heater. We've had it on for 12 minutes. It's feeling nice and soft. Just want to maybe stick your hand inside the liner, make sure it's not too warm for your customer's foot. And if you're going to be using an insole or a custom orthotic, this is the time you're going to want to put it in. And you're going to want to move fairly quickly, just so you don't let the liners cool down too fast. And you're going to want to open up the tongue as far as it'll go. Put the cuff into walk mode to open up that upper cuff, and just make it as easy as possible for your customer to just slip their foot right inside of the shell. Great. So now we're going to want to Get the tongue back on, make sure everything is aligned properly. You really want to take extra care to take a look at the tongue of the liner here, because this is where things can get buggered up. Get this on here. Nice tight seal with the liner on the upper cuff, and it's usually a good idea to get the power strap on first, and that will help to pull the shell together. So when buckling the boots, this is where you really want to take some extra care and attention, because this is going to determine your final fit of the liner when it solidifies. If you have a low volume foot, you really want to take up a lot of volume in that boot, so you want the buckles to be loose, just barely buckled, because you want to keep that liner as fully expanded as you possibly can. And if you have a high volume foot, you're really going to want to take these buckles and crank them down pretty tight, just to compress the liner as much as you can and leave as much room inside of the boot as possible. Now that we've got the first boot on Shanice's feet, we're going to take the second one off and get this one going as well. All right, now that Shanice's feet are in his boots, we're going to have him step up onto our incline board. Feet are going to be shoulder width apart, and you're going to be focusing your weight down through your heels. This way we're going to create a nice deep heel pocket in the liners, and when the boots are locked down, the heels are going to really stay put. If you don't have an incline board, you can use something like a broomstick handle, a 2x4, whatever you happen to have readily available. And when you're standing up on this board, you really don't want to move around too much, because the more you move around, the more volume you're creating in those liners. So it's best to just stay in your skier stance, remain still, and you're going to hang out for about 10 minutes. Now that the 10-minute molding process is complete, what we normally like to do is pull off the stockings and toe caps and have the customer put on their regular ski socks and try the boots on, just to make sure that the mold went properly. So go ahead and slip those on. So now that his boots are all buckled up, you can have the customer stand up and go ahead and flex the boots. You could do it in ski mode, you could do it in walk mode, just to make sure that there's no hot spots, that there's no rubbing, any potential spots for blisters or bruising.